So let's talk about you doing stuff in your business that does not light you up. You're bored, you want to switch it up, but you're scared. So let's talk about taking messy action today and actually switching some stuff up. Let's get into this car chit chat. Hey y'all, welcome back. And so it is another motivational car chit chat with your girl, Dr. TK, clinical psychologist, therapist, business coach, and digital product mentor. And so in today's video podcast, I want to talk to you about something that happened with me a couple of days ago in terms of a download. I've realized that I am in a season where I really enjoy creating content when I receive the download or within 24 hours. And if I deem that it is important enough to share with my community, meaning it's not like sacred, something I'm manifesting and something like that, I want to be able to share it with you. And so I've been in a very tough, interesting season in business and in just like kids getting older, milestones with children, 6 and 13, starting first grade, starting 8th grade. I mean, parents, I love you. You feel me? Teachers, I'm gonna pray for you. You know what I'm saying? But needless to say, there's a lot of seasonal changes. And this isn't anything that I think anybody can technically predict. You can know it's coming, but you don't know how it's going to impact you. On top of that, I live in Southern California. We live in the mountains, 40 miles out from the city. However, inflation is still at an all-time high. It may not be at an all-time high, but it's high, right? And so how that impacts my business. I serve mental health providers, service providers, and digital product creators. But specifically, mental health providers represent about 90% of my clients, our community. So at least the ones that, have invested in our programs because we know they're licensed type or whatever. So what I've realized, and I started realizing this last year, we knew it was coming in 2023 when we had our last conference, is I knew that in October of 2023 that our revenue in our business would make a shift in terms of down. Now, this is important for cash flow for any business owner. I'm always going to speak that knowledge so you can watch your numbers, because on one hand, we threw a conference knowing that the price point, we wanted it to be affordable enough, but we knew that the event would not be profitable. And you may be wondering, why did you have a dang on conference when you knew it wasn't going to be profitable? Well, typically when we have any live event, there's always a back end offer. And we end up making profits, because some of the people who came there end up going into one-on-one coaching. They end up renewing their mastermind, like a lower level, just like Voxer or whatnot, with like a few sessions. Some people end up realizing that they weren't ready for the topic we talked about at the conference. So then they went into our private practice academy. So don't get me wrong. We had the conference in October. We still had a unplanned, but put it into motion after the conference because we realized where people's needs were in December. And we end up having a launch in December, and we end up generating almost like $50,000, not all cash collected, payment plans and such, but we end up getting like 11 or 12 people signed up for our private practice academy, which was good. But the way that, and I look at our cash flow every single month. We got CPA bookkeeper, but I like to look at the cash flow in terms of when are the payments coming in, literally every day of the month, because you have to set up your expenses in your business to align with money when money is cash flowing. So in the beginning of this year, when I started looking at the numbers, because a lot of payment plans I knew were going to fall off in May, because usually our biggest launches are January and August. Some people at that point when we were offering it received, paid in full, or did like one of the two payment plans at that point that we had. We only now have one type of payment plan. So we were able to predict when the money would slow down. And I never want to do a launch out of what I call a thirst trap. There's nothing wrong with saying my business needs to generate more money. Like, that's a fact, right? But I never want to come from the energetic space of, oh my God, if I don't make this money, like things gonna shut down. Like, I may have that thought that come up. I'm human, but I know me, and I know that I will never do without. And also I have a father, you know what I'm saying, that will never let me down. Okay. So what I decided to do is crazy. I slowed down our product suite. I laid off some products. Now, why would I do that when I knew that my revenue was going down? One, because my energy was not aligned with how much energy went into certain products. So for example, with inflation in mind, we chose not to launch or relaunch our mastermind just for this year, meaning they would have started in January of 2024, because what I was getting to earlier is like the snowball effect of working with service providers is, I feel like we got two different service providers. We have the one group that's really doing all they can for marketing, and for whatever reason, maybe attrition with clients, maybe the clients can't pay, they're changing jobs, their money isn't where it needs to be either. So they may not be able to invest to get what they need at a higher level because their business also slowed down. So it's like a snowball effect, right? Then the other type of therapist that I know we have, based on us looking in the course portal, replays, questions that are not answered, people not speaking but invested in a program, I don't know the percentage, but there is a percentage of clientele that we have that may be waiting for a miracle to happen. And as they see money go away or that money isn't coming, they're not eager to learn until they get in a state of desperation. And then either they'll say it's not working, the course isn't working, but they haven't worked the course. They'll throw the towel in on their business. They stop asking for help, even if they haven't never started, you know. And then unfortunately, and I get it, people got to pay bills, you got kids and stuff. Some people do have to resort or choose to resort to a job. Now, I'm not that person. I really do not choose to resort to a job. I'd rather work 5 W-9s. The only W-2 that I don't mind picking up as of even today because of my love for it is going back to a college campus. Hands down. Hands down. But I prefer to go to the college campus that I used to teach at, but I live 40 miles out. So I have to make sure that the teaching contract will be consistent. And ideally, if I can go to the nonprofit that I go to on the same day, it will be well worth the drive, you know, because I really love to teach. That's like my pay it forward. And yeah, I get paid for it once a month. But that would be right now the only W-2 that I'm willing to accept. So going back to the topic at hand in terms of not doing stuff that doesn't light you up. On this Monday, I did some reflection, some sitting still meditation, you know, walked on the treadmill as well. And when I exercise, endorphins are released and I get more clear. And I started journaling, but the first thing I did is I walked to the gym. I said, let me get out this house and let me actually physically go to the gym. Now, I knew that day because I had a coaching call that I'm sorry. Monday, I walked to the gym Monday I walked on the treadmill and Tuesday I went to the gym. So what I did is I asked God for clarity. So speak to your father, okay? I asked God for clarity around where my focus should be for the fourth quarter. I also asked for forgiveness in areas where maybe I could have done better and maybe not have been, you know, I wasn't consistent in my personal life and business, finances, whatever. And then I also asked for clarification into like what stream of income should I be hyper focused on right now, even though I have two main streams of income outside of like digital downloads, right? In terms of courses that are actively enrolling people throughout the year, you know, during certain parts. Out of those two, should I be focused on two at a time? Because I have the systems for it, and that's the boredom part. Or should I be hyper focused on one over the other, you know? So I said, you know, if you can give me some clarity, that would be great. And also, can you lead me to maybe even a book or an investment that I've already made, like a podcast, something I need to listen to so that maybe I can hear you if you ain't maybe talking to me directly. Like my eyes and ears are wide open. That was my statement. My eyes and ears are wide open. And I also asked for clarity related to me going to live events again in the fourth quarter to up-level my business and my mindset, mainly my mindset, like meaning get a refresher. And I said, you know, these are all the events that are going on in the fourth quarter. There are a lot between September and December. And I desire to go to all of them, but I don't feel like all of them would benefit me. And I just don't want to go and spend money to be in a room that's not going to benefit me. But what I found is that sometimes you don't know what's going to benefit you until you get in the room. So I'm asking God to guide me to the right live event, at least one right now. And if you're not going to share with me like the how, meaning what am I going to get out of it, I'm fine with it, but at least tell me and give me some confirmation that that's the event that I'm supposed to be at. Okay. So that was my prayer. So I did that walking, because that's like a 5-minute walk, gym to the house. That was yesterday. And then before I got to the gym, something told me, like, go listen to this particular person, because depending on my energy, I will listen to certain coaches, mentors that I've had based on their voice, level of motivation, their topic. I know exactly what I need when I see it or when I hear it, right? It's like that intuition. And so something told me to go to this one particular person's podcast, and I have been part of this person's community for about 4 years now with different courses. And so I'm like, let me listen to the podcast. I don't want to listen to the course. And so I realized that like the third podcast down, the topic of interest piqued my interest. So when I was listening to that particular podcast, it was like a compilation. They were taking a break, and it was a compilation of like 4 different coaching questions in their community. And first thing I thought about when I was listening to it was like, oh my God, I've been meaning to do this. Thank you, God, for this reminder, because sometimes I would rather work on certain things during my launch periods and serving our clients, because we have so many podcast episodes. There are plenty of podcast episodes that can technically be recycled because they're older, but they're timeless. But there are also plenty of coaching calls that are also timeless that nobody watches or listens to. And if we're launching a product related to that coaching call, what about if we just gave people a sneak peek into like a 3-minute, how am I answering someone's question, right? So that was the first reminder. And then I'm like, dang, why I can't even listen to this, but that was dope. I'm gonna write that down, right? I'm gonna do something like that. Like, thank you for putting that back on my radar. But then there was like it was the second and the fourth question that piqued my interest. I can't remember the exact topic, but what I will tell you is that it gave me energetically confirmation that God said, this is my answer. Are you paying attention? But here's the thing. Remember I said it was 4 different questions that this person had answered in this compilation audio. So the first question technically answered my question. And I'm like, dang, God worked fast, you know? But then I'm like, maybe I should wait on a second nudge, right? But God ain't required to repeat himself. But I'm like, I think he'll nudge me twice. He always nudged me more than once. But it's my job to listen. So he nudged me on the third question of the compilation audio. And I said, I know people be looking at me probably like, I'll be talking to myself like, you answering me too good and too fast right now. Come on now, right? So he gave me my answer, but it wasn't clear, but I can tell it was the answer that I had been looking for, particularly with me just surrounding myself with certain groups of people to like give me a refresher for especially the fourth quarter. So I received that download. Then in the audio, I decided to go listen to another compilation, and it gave me an activity. And I do want to share this activity because I shared it with my community yesterday in terms of my personal development takeaways so that they can be motivated too to go listen to things or go listen to our podcast or watch YouTube videos and just take one thing to apply that day. You ain't got to take the whole thing. So the one takeaway that I heard was your what should not change. That was what it was. Someone had asked a question and she was answering it in the compilation around what if in your business you're trying something, you tweak stuff, and you're still not getting the results that you want. What does that mean? And I was like, oh my God, that's the season that I'm in. I'm not saying that what I have done has not worked, but because I have reduced my work hours, my workload, and also a lot of my launches are on so streamlined right now, meaning the last private practice launch that I had, the boot camp itself is always fun, but the back end processes, I'm not gonna lie, it was hella boring. And it was boring because I realized that I had nothing to do. I had nothing to change. I mean, we launched this program over 35 times, you know what I'm saying? And over time, even with people's questions, we embedded it in the launch and on the enrollment page. So it's like, I kind of like answered everybody's question, I guess. And I started recognizing that, y'all, in the beginning of 2024, that nobody had questions during the boot camp. And then I was like, okay, but like, nevertheless, I was bored. And so, when we went to Vegas last week during Labor Day, one of my friends had talked to our clients and said, my mentor has shared with me, this isn't her words, my mentor shared it with me that you know you're on the right track when you go through seasons of your business being boring. And I'm like, oh my God. So I was getting like all these levels of confirmation leading into yesterday. And so the activity was the following. With the person who said, I want to throw in the towel, I don't know what to do. The mentor had said, your people get the mistake of changing the what. The what is you want a successful business, or the what is you want to make a certain amount of money. Whatever it is, right? So what is my what? So I wrote that down on my phone. So they told me to prompt it and write it down on my phone on the treadmill. So then she said, what will happen that a lot of people control is the how. But people make the mistake of throwing away the whole thing. So what we should do instead is look at it, and the way I paraphrase it to my community is, your what in terms of maybe what you want out of a successful business should not change unless you want it to change. Like, but a failed launch or not getting a client in your time, the length of time that you want should not change the fact that you want to be an entrepreneur. You don't go back to your 9-to-5 job just because your business didn't grow at the pace that you wanted to. You know what I'm saying? That don't mean that you're not supposed to be an entrepreneur. But if you make the choice to decide that you don't want to be an entrepreneur, that's perfectly fine. But own that, but not out of failure. It's more out of, this isn't aligned with me. I just want to go to work and go home, right? So check yourself. So the second part to that with the how is maybe you just need to open up and be receiving of how you're going to meet the goal of the what. So for example, and I'll break this down in another video, but I have an income goal. This income goal used to be double what it is, because I just shot a number out in thin air thinking that's what I needed to make. Need is a strong word. I stopped using the word need, and even every time I say it, I may check myself. So I now look at how much do I desire to have based on the lifestyle I desire to live. Let me say that again. How much money do I desire to have based on the lifestyle that I desire to live? When I did the numbers for all parts of my life and business and taxes, I realized that the number that I had in my head was cut in half, which meant that if I don't understand what I'm working toward, I will overwork and burn myself out and then potentially not even like my business. Hence, some products, again, were laid off due to logistical reasons. And some products were laid off because they were no longer aligned with me, or they were no longer aligned with the clientele that was not or was showing up and maybe not putting in all the work for it to be even profitable, right? So what I came up with was a list of my desires and non-desires. So I'm going to share them with you so that you can potentially do this activity on your own. I wrote down my what, and I wrote down my income goal. And I know what that number is. Then I wrote down first, because it's always easy to write down what you don't want to do. So I wrote down what I don't like. So I don't like pre-recorded videos that I'm technically teaching something, unless it's like this, where it's like, I got to download, I want to record it today. I want to record it by tomorrow. That's different. I also I'm not really in love. I'm going to use the word love. I'm not in love with anymore recording just straight up audio podcasts. Okay. And y'all going to see the flip side to this. I'm not in love with 1 hour webinars, because I realize that the clientele that I serve, they need to be warmed up a little bit more. Right. So let's just take those I don't love. Now let's flip those into the what parts do I do love that I can still do some of those things, but my way. Because that's the thing. We are influenced by how we're coached, what we see in the marketplace. We're overstimulated with different ways we can do stuff. And then what we start doing is we start low-key, unconsciously doing what other people are telling us to do versus taking, this is what I tell my clients, take what I'm teaching you and personalize it to make it your own. Don't copy it. Don't take my product and make it your own. But if I'm teaching you how to build out a marketing funnel, take it and make your own marketing funnel, but use it as a starting point, like a syllabus, right? So what I looked at was, do I really not love podcasts? And I said, actually, I love podcasts when I'm responding to someone's question. I love podcasts and pre-recorded videos when I'm streaming live and responding to people, hence why I do boot camps. I love pre-recorded videos if I'm hyping people up for when they're about to come to the boot camp. If I want to do something like that, like, hey, welcome to the boot camp. This is the registration page. That's different, right? But if we're just talking about scripting out a talking head video, that is not my season right now. Some people would disagree. I don't really care. This is how I'm choosing to create content right now that resonates with how I want to connect with my clientele. And what's crazy is when I look at my quantum leap years, the main thing that most people said outside of strategy that I share with my expertise is that they loved that I was authentic. And when I look back at, because you can always look at your archive posts, when I look at a lot of the stuff that I was doing on YouTube and live stream and Instagram back then, a lot of it was at the spur of the moment because I have a lot of knowledge and me just talking to them. So I'm like, wow. When I look at my podcast episodes, a lot of my podcast episodes, when I was doing that 100 podcast episodes a year, were all generated from, I used to have a podcast question submission form. I also used to get a lot of questions in the DM. I would also get questions, let's just say in a private practice program about digital products, but I had not at some point launched any topics on digital products. So what am I saying? I love responding to people. If you ask me a question in the YouTube video, I'm either going to answer it or I'm going to redirect you to get the answer. Simple as that. Or I can pre-record another video or go live. Am I not in love with certain coaching programs that I launched? Some of them I definitely was not. But it doesn't mean another variation of what I was teaching will not come into play. So another example, I'm actually not in love with having a low price point to learn digital products on a monthly recurring subscription with mental health therapists. That is loaded. And why? Because I realized that they realize a lot of them don't even have their first stream streaming, or they don't even like their job, so they ain't got energy to put toward their digital product. They tag, right? I want people who are committed. So what I decided to do recently in the summer is I start putting out programs that were a commitment of a container, meaning whether you show up or not, you're paying for the whole program. Because see, my feelings low-key would be involved because I love when people get results. And don't get me wrong, I still track your results when you're in an actual program, so don't think I don't. But it's in your face more when people are paying a monthly fee and they're not doing anything, versus I know somebody has unlimited access to the course shell if I choose to set it up that way, and maybe there's limited access to me, but I don't feel as bad when I know you can go back to the program. Versus a membership, once you out, you out. So I'm like, why are you paying? Like, if you ain't doing nothing. So I've shut down a total of 2 memberships in the last 2 years because people were not utilizing the purpose of the membership, which was the community, the cause, the replays, and the activities. It really wasn't about a course. A course may have been provided, but it was about the community aspect and getting mentorship. So with that said, I want to ask you, what is your what? What is the goal of your business? Why are you an entrepreneur? If you're not an entrepreneur, why are you a stay-at-home mom? Like, what's your goal with that? Like, if that is like, you got to have a goal even to be a stay-at-home mom. Unless somebody just told you had to be. Like, ain't nothing wrong with being a stay-at-home mom, right? People love being a stay-at-home mom. What is your goal? To spend unlimited time with your children, to homeschool your children. What is your what? If you have a job, what is your what? You want to be the director of the entire county. That is your what. It may not be about money. That's fine. Okay. Now that you have the what, now I want you to identify what are some of the things that you love that will contribute to you meeting that goal. And what are some things that maybe you're doing that you're no longer aligned with? If you're at a job, maybe you need to switch jobs because you don't like the people. You like what you're doing, but maybe you need to switch sites. That's what I used to do. If I didn't like, and when I say I don't like, it doesn't mean that I am not likable or that I'm nitpicky, but I am a real big advocate for, if y'all treating our clientele like crap, if you're not culturally competent, if you're disrespectful to your line staff and you don't even know what half of our damn job is because you ain't never did it, I can't work for you because you're disrespectful and you're not even like acknowledging the hard work that we're doing. So hence I end up leaving my other job. But what did I do? I took what I did at the county and I just made a branch of my private practice into doing actually what I'm going to do right now. Going to, interview for a podcast for someone who spent over a decade of their life in jail. And they wanted to interview me just to talk about it from the psychological perspective. I don't even know what this boy about to ask me, but it don't matter. I watched some of his podcasts already to kind of like see his vibe, see his flow. And we just about to chit chat it up like we doing in this car with you, right? Because I'm smart and I know my stuff. But I also offer my services to this nonprofit for mental health workshops, quality assurance, risk assessment charts, all those things. So I want you to think about your what, and I really want you to check your energy. Are you aligned with how you're spending your time working toward that what? That is the question. And if you're not in love with it, why are you doing it? Switch it to something else, or like I said, kind of like a boot camp. Instead of me doing pre-recorded private podcast boot camp, because that's somebody else's desire, I desire in this season of my life to actually show up live. So I'm going to go live until God says, I don't want you to go live no more. And when that season hits, I am sure that he's going to give me another path, and I'm going to pay attention and I'm going to follow it. So with that said, I hope that y'all really enjoyed this car chit chat with me. If you are new here, I definitely want to say welcome. I want you to come back, so make sure you subscribe and like this video. Leave me a comment below. Tell me what your biggest takeaway was. I would love to chit chat with you. I actually respond to comments. If you are a returnee, make sure you are subscribed. A lot of y'all be like watching these videos, and I guess I just pop up on your For You recommendations, but you ain't part of the family. So I want to know that you're part of the family, right? So make sure you're subscribed, like this video as well. And yeah, I will see y'all in the next video car chit chat. And if you want to know what's going on with especially digital products or private practice, and you're a mental health provider, or you want to take your digital product idea into the marketplace, make sure you check the show notes. I usually pin it in the pinned comments as well, so you can see it at the top. But anything that I have going on, the links will always be at the top. All right. And if worst case scenario, it'll always be like my landing page store where you can see all the things I have to offer. And typically any type of boot camp or live event will always be at the top. All right, y'all. Have a great day. Bye.